prophecies and conspiracies. Peering into darkness is what we do. Derek and Sharon Gilbert break it all down for you.
The high weirdness never stops. Welcome to the program. I'm Derek Gilbert.
I am Sharon Gilbert, and hey, we're back. We were not here last weekend. I don't know where we were. Search teams went looking for us.
We were here last weekend. We did a program last Saturday.
We did?
We did.
What's
Gilbert House Fellowship was, we didn't do that because it was Resurrection Sunday.
That's right.
But we did a correct. PID radio last weekend.
You are correct. I'm tempted to say let's start this over, but let's not.
Let's just let it go.
It just gives you an idea of where my brain is and where my brain is not.
Yes.
At any given moment during the day.
Well, we will discuss with the OG report.
Try to find my brain.
Exactly.
There's been a chance of brain all morning.
Yeah, 50% chance of brain.
See, it's
brain
that
drizzle,
other 50%.
Brain frizzle. Yeah.
Could be it's not there. I know you're seriously getting to the point where we're going to have to start
shaving down
your arms because they are. Well, we'll get to that on the OG report.
Yes.
But yeah. Welcome back, everybody.
Thank you for joining us. Please take a moment, download our free mobile app to your smartphone or tablet. It's available for all the major platforms, iOS, Android, Amazon, Kindle Fire, and of course the smart TVs or set-top boxes as well. Just go to your favorite app store, find the Gilbert House Ministries app, install it, and all of the content is right there. One other thing we keep forgetting to talk about, and this just occurred to me a minute ago, our video on demand site, which is just sort of sitting out there unloved, neglected. We've got plenty of content there.
Now, there's a link to it when you go to our gilberthouse.org website.
Right.
Is it under /video?
gilberthouse.org/video takes you to our video on demand site. We've got presentations there on everything from occultism in the 19th century to the occult origins of ancient aliens, because they're not really ancient aliens. They're actually the fallen angels who manifested as gods to the ancient world.
Yeah.
But you can get those presentations for as little as $3. Our travel documentaries of our tours to Israel, again, rent them for as little as $3 for a week. And so if you want to see video, and again, you can just instant access wherever you are on planet Earth. gilberthouse.org/video.
We used to, of course, recommend DVDs, which we still have, as does Skywatch TV. But we are very quickly moving into a reality where very few people even have a DVD player. But let me just say this. Buy one. If you see one at a used, goods store or a farm sale or a yard sale or whatever, or you can get them pretty inexpensively at most big box stores, like $25.
Or Blu-ray players.
Either way.
Yeah.
Either way. And the reason I'm saying that is because if the internet were not there,
right,
and you did not have something downloaded to your device, but say you could still charge things because your electric was still on, or you have a whole house generator that you can back up. There are ways to do that because you may want to, let's just say, you may need to share that information with someone you love, a neighbor, a loved one in your family, and the only way to do it is on the DVD suddenly.
Right, exactly. So we've got those, and we will have those with us when we go to conferences later this year. We will tell you about that later.
We've talked previously, just a couple of months ago, about reopening the store. We're still trying to figure out whether or not, I am still trying to figure out whether or not I have time in the day to do it. But also, if we sell the house, our house is on the market, and if we were to sell the house in the next few weeks, having store orders to fill becomes a little difficult.
Right. Yeah,
so
that's
probably until we know exactly what's going to happen with the property, we won't be doing that. But you can still get the online streaming, and you can buy the DVDs from the Skywatch TV store.
Yeah, instant access with the streaming video, and you don't have to pay value-added tax if you live like in the UK or somewhere else that charges
that. That's another reason, because the shipping is crazy.
Well, shipping too, yeah. So you avoid all of that. Well, let's see. Do we want to start off with more high weirdness? Do we want to pick up with, say, the Iran negotiations today and what's going on with all that?
Well, let me mention this before I forget. And it was something that, as you were opening the program, I was reading.
Oh, okay.
And so that may be part of the reason that I sounded like my brain was only half here. Let's face it, my brain is only half here most days. The story is about avian flu. Oh. And in this case, it's H7N3.
Okay.
There are lots of H's and lots of N's out there. And this one is about human interaction with wild foxes out in the wild.
Oh.
And apparently this took place, I'm trying to see the actual state where it took place. It is from the story is at
This isn't like the chicken kissing story we featured on Sci Friday a few years back.
No.
Okay.
I said these are wild foxes.
I know, but I mean, it's not like people are going out and kissing foxes.
No. Here's the problem. This is actually serious. These kits, these little baby foxes, were infected.
Okay.
Mammals can now get avian flu, and they have been getting H5N1 for a while, but I am seeing a different strain in here in the story.
H7N2.
Yeah, well, H7N2 or H7N3, I'm seeing both. The question is, and I don't think, I'm actually reading through the story really quickly, trying to see if it tells which strain it is. As with many of them, it will give you not a whole lot of information in the story. You and I were talking earlier about science reporters. And science reporters don't always know how to tell a story that satisfies a scientist. They tell a story that is often hyperbole in the headline, and then you get about 5 paragraphs down, you get a sort of explanation of it. But to me, this is tragic because more and more hundreds of mammalian species are now have shown infection with avian flu. This was not the case until the last decade or so. This is unusual. In the past, pigs were considered the perfect mixing bowl.
Right, yeah.
You could put a chicken virus, a bird virus, and a pig, and the pig could transmit it to humans, but not directly from bird to humans. They can now go directly from birds to lots of mammals, and these mammals clearly can share the virus with humans. The dairy infections where the dairy cattle were infected, that also had human infections that were relatively mild, but there were quite a number of them. We are moving very quickly to a point where suddenly we're going to have, boom, human infections that travel human to human very quickly and are not mild. Now, I've been saying this since the very first PID radios.
Yeah, I mean,
since 2005.
Our first interview was with Dr. Henry Nyman.
Yeah, that was during the H1N1, I think, but we also had some H5N1 at the time.
Yeah.
I think we are moving into that realm where we are very possibly going to have, and it will be, oh my gosh, this came out of nowhere. But it's been brewing in the background for decades.
You know, and this is one of those topics, not to pat ourselves on the back here, but I think separates what we do from what a lot of other podcasters and broadcasters do, especially in the alternative media. They always want to run, it seems to me, counter to an official narrative or what is the perceived official narrative. After 2020 and, 2019, COVID-19, that's understandable because what we were hearing from the mainstream media and the official narrative from the government, especially after Joe Biden took office in 2021, was trust the science.
Yeah. Capital S, science.
Yeah, trademark, not actual science, which is questioning, testing.
Right. Trust what we're telling you.
Right. But sometimes when you're looking at actual facts, because early on in Sci Friday, early on in the outbreak, I think you were the first person that I can think of, and I'm comparing, what you brought, because you were watching the news reports coming out of China. Of this
I saw the stories in December of 2019 that there were unusual pneumonias.
Yeah, and we brought that to Sci Friday in January of 2020, before the mainstream media had even picked up on the story. But when the official narrative came out and be afraid, be very afraid, and we began to see other reports saying, this isn't as deadly as we think. We said so, and we actually got a couple of programs yanked offline for daring to question the science.
Yeah.
And when President Trump announced Operation Warp Speed, you, based on your molecular biology degree and understanding that mRNA technology had never been approved for testing in humans, said this is not going to be a good thing. Besides which, being an RNA-based virus, they will never be able to keep up with the rate of mutation in the virus.
And it mutated very quickly. And now it's in most people.
Right.
It is essentially a bad cold.
Right. So we followed where the data led. But then when the alternative media, especially Christian alternative media, said, not only is this bad, but they're putting things in it.
Yeah, I don't want to go down that road.
No, I'm just saying we didn't go there.
No, we didn't.
And because we didn't go there, there were some who then criticized us for not going there.
Oh, I know. And that's the road I don't want to go down. I don't want to start criticizing
I don't want
anybody else.
No, I don't want to name names or anything like that. My point is we go where the data leads.
Try to.
Rather than following either the official narrative or the alternative narrative, because sometimes it's in between those two that reality lies.
And that takes us to the next topic, UFOs.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, there are every day now, there are several UFO stories. And it's often coming from a government official or someone who has spoken with a government official or a former one. Yeah, exactly. And I don't know why this is suddenly a major topic.
Right. And last week we talked about this because the week before, Vice President J.D. Vance had said that he thinks aliens are demons. Not entirely wrong there.
No, he's really close. They're
former
spiritual liars.
Spiritual liars. What are gray aliens? The theory I have heard that seems to make sense, and I think Mike Heiser, the late Dr. Michael Heiser, was even on board with this idea, was that they were sort of cloned meat suits, if you want to use it, just kind of a crude term, to give demons a physical form. That's possible.
Yeah, well, we're often called meat suits. Not you and I particularly, but I mean humans.
Yeah.
By gamers.
Yeah.
By some gamers. Not all gamers. We know a lot of really great gamers out there. So yeah, don't be coming at me, gamers. I'm a gamer. I love gaming. I just don't do it anymore. It's gotten where my thumbs can't work that fast.
The Nordics, the reptilians, the insectoids, they, for all we know, they may be fallen angels of various types. Don't know. Don't have a firm opinion on any of those ideas.
No.
The bottom line, though, is that J.D. Vance expressed an opinion, and when you get the Vice President of the United States openly discussing it, and presidents in the past had said things like, okay, we'll open up the files, and of course they never have. President Trump has said he's going to open up the files. We're still waiting for that to happen. Congress has held hearings on it, and you've got so-called whistleblowers like, I'm going to forget his name now, anyway, who said that he had been told that biological material had been, well, I'm getting to Burchett.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm talking about congressional hearings that were held last year around the time of the release of the documentary film Full Disclosure, in which Tennessee Representative Tim Burchett was interviewed.
Is it Full Disclosure or Age of Disclosure?
Age of Disclosure, excuse me, you're right. And we called the upcoming, last week we called the upcoming Steven Spielberg movie, full disclosure, when in fact it's Disclosure Day.
Oh,
Our mistake.
why did they disclose just one overall thing, and it's all just going to be called UFO stuff?
Yeah, there we go. Just UFO stuff. The so-called whistleblowers always seem to say, as the guy did whose name I can't remember, and I'm sure that there are listeners out there right now shouting his name.
Yeah.
Who claimed that biologicals had been recovered from a crash site. But he didn't know of this personally. He'd heard from a guy who had,
Heard from a guy.
just as last week we'd said, former Representative Matt Gaetz had told Benny Johnson on his podcast that he had heard from a guy, an enlisted man in the Army,
Yeah.
who said that, blah, 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 that, we'd, okay. So Congressman Burchett said in an interview this past week, and this is according to a report in RT, consider the source.
Yeah, consider the source. RT stands for Russia Today.
Russia Today.
So it's a certain propaganda site.
Right. Says the United States ruling class knows of extraterrestrial beings and is in contact with them. Burchett added that these beings do not pose a threat to humanity, sort of like the late Dr. Edgar Mitchell, who was one of the Apollo astronauts. However, if the U.S. releases...
I'm sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
U.S. releases, quote, what I've seen, you'd be up at night worrying about it. I don't think we're in danger of this. I mean, these things exist as I think they do, and they could have destroyed us with the blink of an eye, but I just don't see that.
Okay, I have to raise my hand. When
Yes,
he says
Mrs. G.
something like, if you had seen what I have seen, you would be up at night.
Uh-huh.
Then tell us what you've seen.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if you know something and you're demanding disclosure, why don't you disclose it?
That's a really good point. Burchett further alleged that various agencies, including NASA, have been lying about what they know about alien beings and claims that many files on the subject remain undisclosed. Quote, I've been briefed by just about every alphabet agency there is, CIA, NSA, DIA, LSMFT. Mm-hmm. And if they released what I've seen, you'd be up at night worrying about it, end quote.
Okay, I'll say again. He has seen it, and yet he's not on an intelligence committee that
He
I know
is
of.
not. We looked at his role in Congress, and he is not on any one of the intelligence or defense committees.
So why has he seen them?
I don't know.
And why doesn't he disclose it?
I don't know.
He's demanding someone else do it. He doesn't want to do it?
Maybe he's afraid of what the three-letter agencies will do if he actually
Or is it
said something out of
possible
line.
there's a little bit of hyperbole here?
Could be, or it could be Congressman Burchett has been fed some disinformation for the purposes of controlling the narrative.
And we'll talk about disinfo here in a minute, but I want to connect this to the 9 now missing and dead scientists.
9.
It was 9. The 9. The count is 9, says the story. Pattern around dead and missing UFO researchers and scientists tied to U.S. secrets just got even harder to ignore. Now, this is at the Liberty Line. I don't really know much about this website, so forgive me if it's quoting the Daily Mail. And the Daily Mail has been jumping in on a lot of these the last week or so. They're the one, Daily Mail has named 7 and 8, and now apparently they've gone for 9. So some of these are not new. In other words, suddenly someone was discovered missing or dead. No, these are actually going back and looking at past events and trying to find out if there was an explanation for the death or vanishing of someone who is connected to either to nuclear secrets or to UFO secrets. And these individuals have come from, they worked at JPL, at, the one at White Sands.
Lawrence Livermore.
I think that's in. Oh gosh. Anyway, you're all shouting it right now, but they've worked at various NASA-related, nuclear-related. Lawrence Livermore is one of them, but there's another one that these are high-ranking scientists who do work with big secrets.
Yeah.
And several of them walked out of their homes or walked out of a business, walked out and were witnessed walking away.
Yeah.
Without phone, without wallet, without purse, without keys, without anything, not always dressed well for the weather. So what's going on? Now, if I were writing a fictional account of this, it might be that they received a text or an email, the kind of Manchurian Candidate thing where you're just suddenly switched on.
Right, yeah, okay.
And you're told to move.
Yeah.
And you just follow your orders.
Queen of Hearts, and suddenly you're just...
Or they've decided that they're going to meet someone elsewhere without any identification on them because they are now taking their secrets elsewhere. We'll just put it that way.
Well, that's possible too, which is disturbing. But I see that the news story here at Daily Mail, and this is actually about one of the previously missing scientists, which we discussed last week. Monica Riza was last seen hiking in the San Gabriel Wilderness area in the Angeles National Forest June 22nd last year. According to those familiar with the hike, Riza, she was witnessed on the trail, carrying a backpack believed to contain several liters of water when she disappeared. New attention is focused on Riza's work as public records highlight her role in developing advanced aerospace materials linked to high-performance propulsion systems. Only surviving co-creator of a 2010 patent filed with Dallas Ann Hardwick, who died of cancer in 2014, for a specialized metal designed to resist burning while remaining incredibly strong under extreme heat.
You mean the kind of thing that would be used in re-entry?
Yeah, Mondaloy, a nickel-based superalloy, later used in key components of advanced propulsion systems developed through the U.S. Air Force and NASA-backed research programs. So,
well, number 9 appears to be named as Michael David Hicks, who had worked at JPL, and he died. He's one of the dead and missing. Died in 2023 at the age of 59. No public cause of death. In other words, didn't seem to have any health issues. And his former institution, JPL, and NASA, neither one have commented on what he died of. Now, it just could be that these organizations didn't comment because they didn't want to reveal something the family wanted kept private. We don't know that. But it does seem odd that almost every day or two, there's another name added to this list. And those of you who've been listening to PID radio for a long, long time, you remember these Steve Quayle lists from way back in the early days of PID radio, the dead missing scientists.
I put a link to that because it's still on Steve's website.
Good.
That's in last week's show notes.
That's right.
Because we discussed it last week.
I was there. Now that you say that, I kind of remember it. Look, there's a 50% chance of brain today. I think the brain is over there on your side of the room. But these are mysterious things. If it could be that this is nothing more than coincidence, and once you start putting a list together, you're going to comb through every scientist who has died or maybe gone missing, gone hiking.
Tenuous link incoming.
Tenuous link incoming.
Yeah.
Thank you, Neil Sean. We love him.
Wonderful reporter from the UK, focuses a lot on the royal family there, but he also is very insightful regarding UK politics.
He loves history, loves politics. And by the way, we're going to also tell you after the tenuous link, another person, if you want to really understand politics, another YouTuber you need to follow. Anyway, tenuous link.
of finding, connections that don't actually exist. If you look at a large enough population, you can start drawing connections that don't actually exist. So, you start going down the road of dead scientists that you may be able to create a conspiracy where none actually exists.
Well,
now, 20 years ago, it did seem that there were an awful lot of people connected to genetic research who were going missing or dying mysteriously.
yeah, exactly. Well, the YouTuber that we like
Yes.
also did a video about this.
Yes.
Jesus Enrique Rosas. He has a number of channels. One's called The Power Pundit,
Yep.
where he talks about politics. And trust me, Derek and I both respect this man.
Yeah.
He does. He's from Venezuela. I think he now lives in Europe somewhere. But he understands from the viewpoint of a Venezuelan who lived under Chavez and Maduro, and he has no good things to say about those.
No.
Neither guy
Fled the country before he got in
fled the
trouble.
country because if he went back now, he would probably still be arrested. Things have not changed enough.
Yeah.
But he is very insightful. He's got several other channels, including one. It's called the Royal Rogue that we love. He always wears a bowler hat, and he truly loves the royal family. As Derek and I also respect the royal family. Did you just bite your cheek?
No, I've got a
Derek's sitting
finished
here
breakfast not long ago, and I've got a piece of bacon that's stuck up.
no,
and
not that.
Yeah.
How could you even concentrate?
It's driving me nuts.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. I will hand off to you in a second, and I'll go get you something to take care of that. I will get you a floss pick.
It's not stuck between my teeth. It's just up here, back between back teeth and
Oh, no,
and
not
cheek.
that.
And my fingers are such that, because they're half paralyzed at this point, I can't reach up in there and get it out.
Well, you can take care of that when you brush your teeth. But Jesus Enrique Rosas, if you just look for the Power Pundit on YouTube, you will find it. We could also put a link to that channel. He did a breakdown of the missing and dead scientist numbers. And he went back to the 1950s. He found one back in the 40s or 50s that he said, this may be the first one. And I thought, well, that's really interesting. But you could also even go back to Parsons and his, what many think was murder. Many think that he was actually murdered.
Well, got it.
Oh, good.
Got it.
Ah, well done, you.
He was playing with explosive chemicals because he had, he was one of the earliest in the American rocket program. I mean, that's why we kind of jokingly called the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, or JPL, the Jack Parsons Laboratory, because he was part of the founding of JPL.
Yeah, there are others who call it that too.
Yeah.
But there are some who say at the time.
He got blowed up.
Well, they say, well, he just was, as you say, playing around. But he understood chemistry. He understood the dangers of certain things. And there is some evidence that there may have been something other than an accident involved. But, I think that it could even be, if you went back to the World War I era, that there are dead missing scientists. Because if you find something out and you've got government/state secrets, and you maybe are a loose cannon.
And there were some involved in the nuclear program who felt that this was not a secret that should be kept to one country, because it would allow one nation to then terrorize the rest of the world into doing its bidding. And so there were some who were in contact with the Soviet Union and helped the Soviets develop their nuclear program. But, Hitler's Germany was on the verge of discovering nuclear power too. And you can imagine what the Nazis might have done with nuclear weapons.
And that's where we get into the PID part of PID radio. It's Peering into Darkness is what it stands for if you're new to this. And you and I try to take a look at the headlines, and some of them are really out there, but we try to look at all of the headlines and see, A, do we think that they're legit or just clickbait? But B, how does this connect to the fallen realm, to the spirit realm, to the and to the loyal angels. I mean, there are spiritual activities and battles going on all around us all the time.
Not always obvious, and it is, I think we're intentionally drawn away from that by the way the news media has presented itself, and now that we're into the social media era, how social media is changing our views of things. We are, I think, conditioned to treat the political realm as a sport, and we're watching poll numbers like we're watching a basketball team put points on the board. And it's very easy to get caught up in the left, right, blue, red paradigm and not, and it conditions us to not view this as a spiritual conflict. I mean, even though we as Christians should take Paul at his word when he said, we wrestle not against flesh and blood. We are not wrestling against human opponents. The humans are not our enemies. The enemies are the spirits behind the scenes. And yet, when we're confronted by people shouting slogans for the other team, it's easy to get angry at them and not remember that they know not what they do, as Jesus said from the cross. So it's kind of distressing when we see that reality manifest regarding the long supernatural battle, which is why I'm writing the book War of the Watchers, or the books, actually, because it's going to be two, about the long supernatural conflict for God's mountain, his mount of assembly, his mount of the congregation, his holy mountain. If you've read the Bible, you understand that that is Zion, which generally refers to the land of Israel, but specifically refers to the Temple Mount, Mount Moriah, which God signaled as important as far back as 4,000 years ago, roughly, when Abraham was tested there with the binding of Isaac. When David purchased the Temple Mount, the threshing floor of Ornan, or Ornan, depending on which book of the Old Testament you're reading, to stop the destroyer, the destroying angel.
Yeah,
from
that he saw standing above it.
With his sword drawn, because David had been tempted into conducting a census of all of his fighting men. He wanted to know how many swords and spears he could put onto the battlefield instead of trusting in God to protect his kingdom and protect his people. And of course, that was where Solomon built the temple, and that has been the center of, I mean, even as late as the day of Jesus, even though Herod the Great had expanded the Temple Mount, the western wall was not part of the temple. That was a retaining wall that was put up to expand the size of the Temple Mount so more people could get up there. And Jesus, even though Herod had been the one who had refurbished, rebuilt, made it absolutely glorious, in the first century AD, that was probably the biggest and most impressive temple in the entire Roman Empire. And Jesus still called it my Father's house, even as he drove out the money changers.
Exactly.
You've made my Father's house a place of commerce.
Exactly. In fact, you can get an idea of how massive it was when you're underneath of it. You go through those tunnels
those
and
walls
you
down
see that massive stone that was
Cyclopean.
put there. Yes, exactly. Herod's builders put it there. And it's really tall and really long and really thick.
Yeah. We had a friend with us back in the 2018 tour, Brad Davold.
Yep.
And Brad and Debbie have come to visit us since then, and we become friends.
He's very tall.
He's 6'8", and he stretched up his hand and just barely touched the top of that stone. Now, the bottom of the stone wasn't, roughly speaking, that stone was about 7 feet in height, but it was a good 40 feet long. And I'm not sure how deep the stone was into the wall. We couldn't tell.
Yeah, it's easily 7 feet in height, maybe 7.5, and very, very long, and it's supposed to be very thick. In fact, when Herod had it put in place, he bragged that nothing would ever crack that stone.
Yeah.
And nothing has so far.
A little bit of arrogance there. Yeah,
a little
nothing
bit.
has so far.
But another...
The point, though, that I'm getting to is that the war that we're in the middle of, this supernatural war, is over who ultimately will control that mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And that the phrase Mount of Assembly, Mount of the Congregation, is Har Moed, which is where John got the phrase. He transliterated into Greek as Armageddon. That's why the final battle will be fought there. Not at Megiddo, because the sounds are similar. No, it's Har Moed, Mount of Assembly, God's Mount of Assembly, Temple Mount. That's why there is so much anger, bloodshed, conflict over that 35 acres that continues to this day, will continue into the future.
Right.
And because of the way we've been conditioned to see this as a fight between good guys and bad guys, and because of this Marxist mindset that's been imposed on college students for the last 4 generations here in the United States. Israel, prosperous, they must be the oppressors. The poor Palestinians or Arabs, they must be the oppressed, so they're the good guys. Israel's bad. And we've just seen a rapid change in the last 4 years. And I think a lot of it has to do with 2 things, social media and getting back to what I'd said earlier about alternative media want to run counter to the official narrative.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I have my hand up.
Yes.
I would like to read for you from 1 Kings.
Oh, okay.
And it actually gets into what you just said.
Okay.
And Yahweh said, that's all capital Lord, that's the word that actually is translated all caps Lord. He said, this is in the divine assembly, who shall persuade Ahab that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? And one said on this manner, and another said on that manner, and there came forth a spirit and stood before Yahweh, stood before the Lord, and said, I will persuade him. And the Lord said unto him, wherewith? And he said, I'll go forth, and I will be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets.
Mm-hmm.
Now, replace prophets with alternative media voices.
That's a really good... Yeah, I had not even thought about that. Because, again, I'm like caught up in the left-right.
I know.
Yeah, chasing clicks.
No.
But what would prompt somebody to do that? It's a spiritual thing.
Exactly. And the person who is being inspired to say those lies may not realize he or she is inspired by a lying spirit.
That's a really...
And you'll notice that this lying spirit actually had access to the throne.
Yeah.
So is this
the throne of God, not the throne of Ahab.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly. The throne of Yahweh.
Yeah.
This is the divine assembly. This is at the beyond our sight version of the Har Moed.
Yeah.
This is in another dimension, perhaps.
Right.
But this is essentially the Temple Mount.
Yeah.
Where we can't see it, but this activity takes place. And the Lord said, great, go be a lying spirit in the mouth of all of his prophets.
Right.
These social media stars are like the new prophets.
That is really good. That is really good.
That's why I had my hand up. I wanted to say it
I'm
before I
glad you got that in there, and you know how I am. I'm like a train rolling downhill, or a truck with no brakes heading downhill to that like big sand trap to stop them. And I'm glad you stopped me there because yes, that is right on.
But it links to what you were saying.
It links exactly to what I was saying. Pew Research has just put out a survey showing that since 2022, the last 4 years, Americans' view of Israel and Prime Minister Netanyahu have turned sharply negative.
Mm-hmm.
In 2022, this is prior to the October 7th attack in 2023, the opinion of Americans that were very or somewhat favorable of Israel was 55%, 42% very or somewhat unfavorable. But since then, it has flipped. And now the percentage of Americans with an unfavorable view of Israel has flipped 60% to 37% positive. So it's gone from 55-42 positive to 60-37 negative in the span of 4 years.
Lying spirits. And this takes us to another story that you and I talked about this past week. And that is that I'm not going to name any particular denomination, just across the board.
Yes.
Church attendance is up.
Yeah.
Conversions, joining the churches, these numbers are up, but primarily in young men.
Yeah.
And young people as well. I mean, young women too. But the numbers of young men are higher in proportion to the number of young women. And I think some of this is because of Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
The Lord has used that. He's worked all of that together for good. But I think possibly some of the young men joining might be because, maybe even young women, because of these influencers.
Right.
And these, I'm not going to name names, but there are certain media stars that are very anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
And when they draw someone to them, then the individual is shaped by these lies. Whether the media star knows that these lies come from the fallen realm or from a spirit, I don't know.
Yeah. That's a really good point. And again, we don't want to call out any dimensions or any particular...
We're not, because, look, we need to pray for these, everyone.
Yeah.
Pray for all people in media. Oh, seriously, because media is shaping the minds of our kids and grandkids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But you need to be aware of the trend. Mm-hmm. And frankly, it is American Christians under the age of 50 whose opinions are generally flipping very negative towards Israel. Mm-hmm. We over 50s, and especially,
we boomers.
We boomers, and I'm the tail end of the boom at age 64. We tend to be the most pro-Israel. And a lot of those kids, and I've run into this on social media, I've run into it with podcasts hosted by young men who've had me as a guest, who then confront me on social media and refer to my opinions as boomer slop. Like, all right, you're going to dismiss it just because I'm 64 years old, then you're a lazy thinker. Yeah. Because, frankly, I've been around a little longer than you. I've done a little more study than you. I've got more life experience than you. I've actually been to Israel and met Jewish people. Mm-hmm. So, maybe I know something.
We've been to Israel. We have a lot of friends over there who are Jewish. We've met a lot of people who are Jewish.
We've got friends over there who are Christian.
We've met a lot of Christians over there. We've met a lot of Muslims over there.
Yes.
Both in Israel and in Jordan. So they're all just, for the most part, trying to raise their families.
Yeah, and live their lives peacefully. Mm-hmm. We've talked through a translator, our guide translating for us, some of the Arab shopkeepers in the old city of Jerusalem, back when we were there in 2019,
I think. You're talking about kids in the Arab quarter?
2018, actually, when we were there and Trump moved the embassy.
Right. Yeah, that was 18.
And Hamas had its days of rage down there at Gaza. And the Arab shopkeeper that our guide talked to was really angry and said, look, government here is not perfect, but it's better than living under the Palestinian Authority. And the Hamas, they're just going to mess it up for everybody. Mm-hmm. Because when they start agitating, then the Jews in Israel start looking suspiciously at their Arab neighbors who live around them, who have representation in the Knesset. It is not an apartheid state.
It is not.
20 to 25% of the nation of Israel is Arab. So,
It's when you say things like Arab quarter, and the assumption is, they're living in a ghetto. No, there's also a Jewish quarter.
A Christian quarter.
A Christian quarter, exactly.
And the Armenian quarter.
I know. I love the Armenian restaurants. Oh my gosh, they're so much fun. The food is just incredible. But you need to go there.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're going to go back in October. We'd love for you to come with us, but if you can't come with us, go with somebody.
Yeah. It really is an eye-opening experience. I didn't know what to expect first time there because you hear these horror stories. And again, younger people without experience believing what they're hearing from social media talk about, yep, we're going to go back in October. Oh, watch out for the spit. Like, we've been there 5 times, had never been spit on by a Jew.
Well, by camel. We did get spit on by a camel.
Get spit on by a camel.
Yeah, but that's
But we
different.
didn't ask its religious affiliation,
we really
so we don't
didn't.
know.
We don't know that we were doing a good job of riding the camel.
Other than the camel.
Other than the camel.
I've never been spit on by a Jew. Never had anyone on our tour spit on by a. And this is not entirely. We don't spend every waking minute with a guide. There is free time. Go into the old city, go shop, go do things. None of the people have ever had an experience like that.
None at all.
Yeah.
And we were there during Ramadan.
Yep.
Several times, and we were in. Sorry, brain just went crazy. Yes, the neighboring country,
Jordan.
Why did I keep wanting to say Jericho? Brain is serious.
We have not yet been to Jericho.
Now, mind you, I woke up at 12:30.
That's true. She's been
I
up
got
a long
out
time.
of bed at 1 o'clock, so I've been at this a while. We're recording this now. It's about 10:40. So, no, sorry, 9:40. So I've been up for a while. But yeah, in Jordan, we have been there during Ramadan, and everyone treated us really, really nicely. The shopkeepers, the policeman who was on our bus one year, and he kept falling asleep because he wasn't
Blood
eating.
sugar crashing.
But also during Ramadan,
Yeah.
we were in Amman, and at night, our guide said it's very, very safe. You can go out tonight and we'll be fine. It was just as safe in Amman as it was in Jerusalem at night.
In fact, a group from our tour did go out and had a great time. Went to some of the shops, some of the cafes, had a wonderful time.
They did.
The irony that is that in the 1st century AD, Amman was called Philadelphia.
I know.
And we just thought, isn't it odd that Philadelphia in Jordan, a Muslim country, is cleaner and safer than Philadelphia here in the U.S.?
Much.
Yeah.
So yes, if you have never traveled to the Middle East, we highly recommend it. We had wanted to go to Turkey, but there was an earthquake that happened just before our tour was
Kind of
supposed to
bollocks
leave,
the
so
idea
we
there.
weren't able to go. And now, of course, we're just getting older and walking around in Turkey. We were going to go to almost all archaeological sites like Göbekli Tepe and places like that, but. In Israel, we still managed to go. In fact, the Lipkins have said that they were going to get you a little cart that you could ride around in.
We'll see. We'll talk in the OG report. If all goes well, I may not need it.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see.
Anyway,
I want to add this regarding the Middle East and the situation with Iran right now. There's a report out this week, because this also connects to social media and alternative podcasters, and the desire to stand out by running counter to the official narrative. New York Times ran an article this week that was picked up by some in the social media alternative space. The thrust of the article, which is an excerpt from a forthcoming book by one of the New York Times, a couple of New York Times reporters, one of whom Donald Trump has called out on social media a number of times for her unfavorable and sometimes just blatantly untrue and debunked stories. I think the forthcoming book is called The Imperial Presidency of Donald Trump, something like that. Anyway, the excerpt purports to recount the debate among Trump's cabinet about what to do with Iran.
Yeah.
And this gets back to Jesus and Enrique Rosas. I got to get the roll of the R there.
Yeah, the power pundit.
Yeah,
he covered it.
Look him up on YouTube. I'll put a link in the notes to his YouTube channel, because he did a wonderful job breaking it down and explaining it. First of all, it's hilarious that suddenly right-wing, conservative, I'll put that in air quotes, podcasters are now treating the New York Times as a reliable source, especially when the New York Times is quoting an unnamed source to describe what happened in this meeting. And what the article claims to show is two basic things. Number one, that J.D. Vance was the voice of reason in the room, trying to dissuade President Trump from striking Iran at all, and thus, painting him as the hero in this story. A fracture between Vance and Trump. They're divided on this issue, division in the White House, et cetera, which is not what the article actually said. He made his concerns known. President Trump made a decision. Vice President Vance then said, okay, well, let's make it overwhelming force so that this doesn't drag on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's actually a good thing because it shows that President Trump is not allowing groupthink in his cabinet. He is entertaining alternative views.
He's used to running businesses.
Yes.
You get advice from your board,
Right.
from the people in your business, because they may know more than you do.
Right.
And then you make the decision.
Yeah. The second point, which is the one that was run with by the podcasters, whom we will not name, is that Prime Minister Netanyahu flew in from Israel,
Oh, yes.
sat down with President Trump, and lied to President Trump and fooled him into striking Iran.
Yeah.
That is the most ridiculous. If you think, first of all, that Netanyahu could fly in there, lay out a bunch of stuff that's blatantly untrue. Yeah, we can do this easily. It'll be quick, neat, regime change. It'll all be great. When the president is also getting information from the CIA, the NSA, from the Director of National Intelligence, who's summarizing all of this stuff from CIA, NSA, DIA, etc. You're just not a rational thinker. Anybody who thinks that President Trump, if you've watched him over the last 10 years, and thinks that anybody leads him around by the nose, again, you are just not observant at all. That's not the guy President Trump is. He is an alpha male.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to make his own decision and then stand by it, right or wrong. And if he's wrong, he may not admit that he's wrong. But, the bottom line is Netanyahu may have made a case that was not entirely realistic. But President Trump said, look, the goal was not regime change. We hope that the people of Iran rise up and take back their country. But the goal was to prevent Iran from becoming a nuclear power.
By the way, the name of the book is Regime Change.
Regime, oh, it is. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's the book coming in June by Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan.
Now, the thing that they left out of the article in the excerpt, which Jesus pointed out, which there are those in the alternative media will point out, yes, in the March 2025 intelligence analysis, Iran was not working on a nuclear weapon. However, as Jesus and Enrique Rosas points out, an Italian think tank using open source information produced an analysis in October that said that in September of 2025, Ayatollah Khamenei had ordered the IRGC to begin pursuing the nuclear weapon. And this is because of the June attacks that showed that their deterrent effect of all their missiles was not enough to keep Israel and the United States from trying to destroy its nuclear research program.
Right.
And so, looking at the example of, say, Russia, China, North Korea, I mean, okay, they've got nuclear weapons and the United States has not dared attack any of those countries. The difference between those countries and Iran is that those countries are not fundamentalist theocracies that believe that when they die, they get 72 virgins. And so threatening them with death is not a credible threat to them. It's like, hey, great, we go to Allah and we get, treated by these hotties for the rest of our lives, or the rest of eternity.
Well, they find out that they're wrong about that. That also links to 1 Kings, though. This idea of being a lying spirit to the king. Mm-hmm. Lying spirit, as I said, our prophets today in many cases are these stars on various, and celebrities even. There are a lot of influencers, let's put it that way. But also that there are influencers around the head of state. Mm-hmm. Not all of them are trustworthy. But like Grima Wormtongue in The Lord of the Rings, they sound friendly. They sound like you're the only person they care about. And all they want is to make sure that you're safe. And I think that there are those in the Iranian regime, in the Ayatollah group, that they are Grima Wormtongues, and they have spirits working their mouths. And so when we need to pray for all of them too, all of the people of Iran, the Persian people who, some of them are coming to Christ, but also pray for the negotiators. Pray for J.D. Vance, who is heading the negotiating team in Islamabad as we record this right now.
This has begun.
And that he can discern the lies, the spirits that might be in that room with them.
Right. Iran, and we talked about this last week, the fact that among Muslims, and especially among Shia Muslims, because they've traditionally been the minority in the Islamic world. About 15% of Muslims are Shia, and Shias and Sunnis really hate each other.
They really do.
Yeah, even more than, at least as much, if not more, than they hate Christians and Jews and Hindus and Buddhists, etc. So they have a doctrine called taqiyya that allows them to lie without committing a sin, as long as they believe it's in the service of Allah. I mean, we Christians have a commandment, thou shalt not lie. That can be difficult to uphold because there are times when lying be really convenient. Did you take this thing? No, Mom, I don't know what happened to that cookie. Yeah. In Islam, that's not a thing necessarily. So the negotiating that they were doing, and put that in air quotes, prior to the beginning of this war on February 28th, it was just a stall tactic. They were desperately trying to get their nuclear weapons program online so that then they had a credible threat where they could, because they lied about the range of their ballistic missiles, which they revealed when they tried to hit Diego Garcia. It's like, oh, they could hit London with one of these.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, if you haven't caught this, there are mines in the Strait of Hormuz in the international waters, not in the Iranian waters, just in the international lane. So those tankers using the international lane have been told, you better hug the Iranian coastline because, that's the safe lane. We don't even know where the mines that, we put them out there.
We can't find them.
We don't know where they are. We can't find them at all. So they've set up a toll booth. There are a couple of islands there used as toll booths that they're demanding cryptocurrency for payment. Yeah. So Trump can't find it.
Well,
and
President
so it's not
Trump
frozen.
Trump has said that if they're doing that, we're going to put a stop to that. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to put a link, by the way, to this article, this report from the Italian Institute for International Political Studies, because it's in English. Yes. And again, this was published in October. And as Jesus Enrique Rosas, actually, rather, it was December 24th it was published, saying that, look, the crisis to watch in 2026 is Iranian nuclear weapons, because the 12-day war showed them that their deterrence was ineffective. Well, and he pointed out, he said, do you not think the CIA and NSA had the same information? Because these guys were working with open source intel. CIA, NSA, Mossad, they've got sources on the ground inside
that
Iran.
Are not open source.
So that was his point with the article that was cited by the New York Times, the excerpt from the forthcoming book, and those who claim, well, look, the DNI said in March of 25 that they weren't working on a nuclear plant. Yeah, well, according to the Italian report in December, they had started working on this under orders of Ayatollah Khamenei, and that's what prompted Trump and Netanyahu to act. They knew that the game was finally on. This time the threat was credible. Yes, they are trying to get nuclear ballistic missiles that can reach a lot farther than the Europeans think. And the fact that the Europeans are not helping in this, considering that every one of their capitals, London, Paris, Berlin, Vienna. They're all within range. Rome. I mean, come on, dudes. Just set aside the whole Israeli thing, and the Jews want to conquer the world, which is laughable.
I know.
Just set that aside. Just from a geopolitical standpoint, you've got a theocracy that believes it is a God-given command to take over the world, about to get nuclear weapons. That just can't be allowed.
And here's the other thing. Taking over the world, even if it's in ashes, they win.
They win.
That's how they see it.
That's exactly. In fact, they will frame it just as Hamas has done. And by the way, Hamas still now refusing to abide by the Board of Peace deadline.
I know. Which
is way beyond what Trump had set for a deadline to lay down its arms. Hamas is still refusing to lay down its arms. They will never. They will never. And the same was with the IRGC. They are
down
hardliners.
To the last person.
Yeah. They will rather see their country go up in flames than surrender. And that's tragic for the people who live under their rule, which is why you're right to say we need to pray for them.
Every human being is, to the fallen realm, nothing more than a human suit or a human shield.
Yeah.
They don't care if we spill our blood, unlike the Lord, who spilled his for us.
Right. And who commanded us not to shed the blood of others because a reckoning would be required. But it's also acknowledged that there were times when the king, when David, when even John the Baptist, when he was talking to the Roman soldiers, be content with your pay, Yeah. He didn't say, no, you can't be, you got to put down your weapons.
Yeah, there's a difference between warfare and murder.
Yeah. And I recognize that our attitude here, being pro-Israel, we are, because we're in that age group that tends to be pro-Israel, over 50, I guess you'd call us evangelical Christians or conservative Protestants. Okay, that puts us in the minority. And
I don't mind.
I don't mind being in the minority.
No.
It's why our podcast is not at the top of the charts. But that's okay.
That is
just as with following science instead of the science with Sci Friday. We never got the attention that some others that were being more.
We never did. I shared
sensational.
I shared a throwback pic from long ago when we were doing Sci Friday in the old studio, and I'm still coloring my hair. It's just too much work. But a lot of people said that they miss Sci Friday, as do I. I said that in my comment. I miss recording it. It's just, you get older, you get tired, and you have less hours in the day that you're actually awake and your brain's awake too. So, yeah, I miss doing it. And I guess that sort of segues into the OG report.
I guess it does. Last week we had talked about the deal with the health insurance company telling my neurologist what he can and can't authorize for my treatment.
Some guy in a suit looking at only numbers.
Yeah. Well, apparently there's a neurologist in the employ of the that they said. Anyway, we got the written report from the insurance company during the week that said what they had told my neurologist a couple of months ago, that they would not approve the infusion treatment, the intravenous immunoglobulin, until I had gone through at least 3 months of corticosteroids.
And didn't you tell me that the decision was actually made before the EMG results were sent to them?
Well, so it appears. I had been told, and my neurologist had recommended getting a follow-up EMG, as I got an EMG a year ago, early on when this process was beginning.
Yeah, and it's an electromyogram, in case you're wondering. It just essentially maps out the nerves and whether or not they work.
And what we found this time was, yes, there had been serious degradation from the previous year's EMG and nerve conduction test. My nerves in my two lower legs and my right hand are basically fried. Left hand, I still got some conduction, but right hand and right and left legs below mid-calf are pretty much...
they've checked out.
Yeah, they're not conducting anything. So we had been told that when we submitted the new EMG that the insurance company would, reconsider its decision And if they reconsidered, they looked at it and said, nope, we were right the first time. Now, my neurologist then said he would offer to have a peer-to-peer discussion with the neurologist at the insurance company. Insurance company wouldn't even talk to him. So they sent back and they basically told him, forget it, we've made our decision, stop bothering us.
We don't want to pay all that money.
Yeah. And so they sent me a note, said, look, you've got to go through 3 months of steroids. So I sent a note to my doctor, said, look, would it be worth going through the 3 months of steroids just to fulfill their requirement? And so he sent the prescription in the next day. So as of this week, I've begun a daily regimen of 50 milligrams of prednisone.
This is day 3, I think.
Yeah. And they will probably, if I tolerate it well, and so far I'm not seeing any side effects as far as I can tell.
I am watching for them.
Yeah. And God bless you. You know, we know that you mean well, and we've been getting a lot of responses because I did post an update to social media this week letting you know here's what's going on. Yes, we are watching for water retention, weight gain. We're already seeing that.
I've got all the long list of things to watch for, and those things that are observable, I watch for them directly, and those others I ask you periodically. You know, are you experiencing this or this?
Right.
So
yeah. So they're those are the main things. Sugar, blood sugar. Okay, I don't track that because my blood sugar's never been that high.
No.
But
you don't really consume a whole lot of sugar, actually, here at the house. I give you a lot of protein and fiber and veggies.
Yeah. So we're watching for all of those side effects. And we are aware that long-term corticosteroids does have negative side effects.
And I've said to Derek, I don't like them long-term.
No, and neither do I. But here's the thing. At the end of 3 months, one of two things will have happened. Either I will have improved, because according to what we've read, 60 to 80% of the people who go through this protocol actually show a lot of improvement to the point. And the point of this treatment, as with the IVIG, is to essentially reset the body's immune system so it stops attacking itself.
Yeah.
And at the end of 3 months, either I will have improved or we'll have proved to the insurance company that it's not working, and then we move on to the IVIG. If I am improved, and then I stay on a maintenance dose of the corticosteroids, that's until next January when I get to Medicare age. And then we can go to the IVIG, which has much better profile as far as negative side effects.
Yeah, and very few side effects.
Right. Efficacy is roughly the same, but much fewer side effects. Now it's much more expensive than this corticosteroids.
Which is why the insurance company doesn't want it. The steroids are relatively cheap.
Yes.
The Gamunex is very expensive.
Right. It is.
About $500,000 a year.
Yep. So anyway, that's
Medicare pays for it.
Medicare pays for it.
And you'll be on Medicare in January of next year. Oh, honey, you're finally going to graduate.
So I'm taking both kinds of steroids, country and Western. Corticosteroids and anabolic steroids.
I know.
Because I'm on the testosterone, which is not because low T or anything like that, but there's research that shows that it regrows myelin. So if the corticosteroids, if the prednisone slows down my immune system, maybe then it allows the testosterone, the lion's mane mushroom, which stimulates nerve growth factor, will have an opportunity to work.
Yep.
So that's where we are right now.
So we're praying for that. And please, those of you who love Derek so much and you offer suggestions, that's why you do it, because you love it.
We understand that. So.
We totally do. So we just thank you for your prayers. And many of you have been kind enough to, because you have been through it yourselves or you understand from loved ones who've been through it, when you have a major health issue and lots of doctor visits, sometimes you use up all your savings taking care of it.
Yeah.
And since Derek's no longer fully employed, we're now self-employed, I guess you could call it that. Dependent upon your either book sales or because you get royalties. So there's a little bit of that. And the royalties that we get from Amazon where we publish our novels. And your donations, that's kind of it. But you know what? The Lord has always, He's kept the flour container full and the oil container full.
It's
we
remarkable.
Always have exactly what we need, and it's because you guys are inspired to help.
Yeah.
So thank you.
You know, and I will say this. When we moved here 11 years ago, if I had been told, you're going to move there and at some point you're going to be totally dependent on the generosity of people you reach, I would have been terrified. But I've seen God again and again, just when something comes up, like, how are we going to meet this need? Boom. Oh, well, there it is.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lord.
Every time.
And I've had to ask him again and again for forgiveness for allowing that stress to come into my, and that's the enemy kind of poking at me.
And that's the other thing.
Did he really say?
Well, that's the other thing, that when you're dealing with health issues, stress does not help.
No.
But it's sort of in fact, your doctors have asked, why is it you're able to take this with such cheerfulness? Because you laugh when you're in their visits, you do handle it really pretty well, I think. And they're often amazed by that.
Yeah, it's
but it's a chance to share the gospel.
Well, it is. The pulmonologist who we'll be seeing again in a few weeks. And I look forward to meeting him face to face. I've had 2 video consults with him, and he said, well, you are very cheerful. Many of my patients in your situation are very depressed. It's like, well, depression doesn't help anything. I mean, yeah, sometimes it's frustrating, but I said it helps that I'm married to the most wonderful person I know.
But it's the Holy Spirit, really, seriously, our marriage.
It's the joy and the peace that passes all understanding, the peace of God that passes all understanding.
Amen.
So, it's how I can laugh about, having a punch card and specialist. I didn't even realize it collected nephrology while I was in the hospital.
Well, a number of things. In fact, the statin that they changed you to probably was post the nephrologist visit, because there are a lot of statins that they can either affect your kidneys adversely or will only work if your kidneys are functioning well.
Right, yeah. I was on simvastatin. They switched me over to generic Lipitor, which has a better, atorvastatin, thank you. Again, fewer side effects, potential side effects. And the reason I'm on that, by the way, is not, long-term worry over cholesterol. It's because I'd been on statins for a while for high cholesterol. When we started eating properly, my cholesterol level came down. Yeah.
That's
naturally.
A lot of people don't realize that if you eat more fats, healthy fats, and you eat more protein and you cut back on sugar. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah, and the omega-13s, omega-3. Omega-13 is
we're not doing 13. That's the 13-second thing.
Yeah. Omega-3 fatty acids in fish oil. And taking those daily is also helpful, which my primary care physician recommended. But they put me on the statins after the stent was inserted in my the artery in my left leg to correct the aneurysm. So anyway, but they switched that. But so now I've got cardiology, pulmonology, nephrology. Did I say neurology?
Cardiovascular, not just cardiology. You've also got a vascular surgery department from your stent.
Okay.
So vascular surgery is different from cardiology.
Okay.
It's more specialized.
So anyway, collecting all the specialists.
I think you're almost up to 10 and you get a free one.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
So anyway, your prayers are appreciated. And
the best specialist of all is already with us.
Well, amen to that. It's just aging is not for the faint of heart. But
it is not.
When you get it was funny because we on the way back from, what test was it? It was from the pulmonary function test or something. We'd stopped for breakfast at a wonderful locally owned restaurant. In fact, owned by a Baptist pastor, a little Baptist church out in the country.
Yep, delicious food.
Oh,
great
my
breakfast.
Goodness. And the young lady who was serving us, we started talking about, what we'd been through and why I had a cane with me and this, that, and the other. She genuinely looked horrified.
I know.
But she'd been through some stuff herself.
She had been.
Yeah. So, young lady in her 20s. But we were talking about, here's what I go through. And I've got this and that and the other. And we had to go for the test for this. And Sharon was describing some of the things
I think she was blind in one eye or something like that.
She'd had the operations when she was a child because it was cancerous tumor in her eye. So it's not like she hadn't been through stuff already, but just, the aging stuff. It
is not for the faint of heart.
But that just makes you look forward to. I think as you go through this and you start reading 1 Corinthians 15 and Paul describing what is to come with the incorruptible bodies, just as when you plant a seed, the seed essentially dies, the husk dries up, falls away, but then something else new grows from it.
Yes.
That's what's going to happen to us. These husks in which we're living now will be cast aside, and we will be raised up incorruptible.
This corruptible takes on incorruption, yes.
Right, yeah. In the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump, we shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed.
It's the sign that's on every nursery at church.
Yes. So anyway, that is the OG report, unless you've got something.
Oh, no, just the only thing is I'm still working on the next book of the Red Wing Saga. So thank you for many of you who have asked. I'm doing it as I can. And as you know, if you've been a caregiver or someone who's just dealing with stuff, it changes your entire day.
It does.
But I wouldn't change my day for anything.
Well, I'm thankful for that every day. I appreciate that.
So tomorrow.
It was kind of one of the other things that we were kind of laughing at the beginning of the program. I just noticed as I saw my forearm highlighted against the backlight of my iPad screen here, and just laughing.
I know. Since
one of the side effects of the testosterone is that the my arm hair has gone, like full Wolverine.
Yeah.
It's because it was never like this before.
No,
it was not.
It wasn't.
Yeah, it literally sticks up about an inch off my
some of those are like 2 inches long.
Longer.
Yeah, really, really long hair. But here's the thing.
Weird.
That also will pass away. So this is a temporary thing.
Yeah, very,
But
very
tomorrow
strange.
we will be back with our Gilbert House Fellowship.
Yep.
And we would love for you to join us. It will be the first fellowship of the month. So we will be celebrating communion. Yeah.
And tomorrow night, interesting fellow, talk with a young man who lives north of Springfield, Missouri, who's got a book out, forward written by Mondo Gonzalez of Prophecy Watchers, the book titled Genesis 6 and the Ozarks. He's been doing research in the area, as has Mondo. They're now part of the same amateur archaeology group here in the area. And of course, Mondo's got a degree in archaeology. He's been on digs in Israel, and
Prophecy Watchers is maybe 6 hours from here. 5-6 hours.
4 if you drive like Bob.
I was going to say if you drive like Bob, you could be here in minutes.
4.5, 5 hours. Anyway, they met at a site near Mount Vernon, Missouri. They were going up there to look at some mounds. There are Indian mounds here in the Ozarks.
Yep, there are.
I was not aware of that until talking to Nicholas Daigle, who is the author of the book, and he's found some remarkable research conducted by other amateur archaeologists. There was a gentleman named a Baptist pastor by the name of Sterling Price Newberry.
Great name.
Yeah, Sterling Price was the governor of Missouri just before the Civil War, 1853 to 1857, was a general for the Confederacy in the war. So later on, he went by SP instead of Sterling Price.
Yeah.
I think, probably a little safer. But back in the 1930s, he was excavating in the area here around Springfield along the James River, which runs just east of us here in Galena. And the James is what's dammed up to create Table Rock Lake.
Yeah, it's very, very close to where we
Yeah, and also some digs that they've done on the Finley River.
Oh, really? Yeah, over by our friends at his call.
Exactly. So found some very interesting burials, a star-shaped burial where the bodies were laid out in like a 7-point or 8-pointed star. Another where the bodies were, 8 bodies were laid one over another in the shape of a cross.
Now that's interesting.
Heads facing north and east.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's tomorrow night's View from the Bunker, which will be available at 7 p.m. Central Time.
Oh, yeah. Don't want to miss that.
Yeah. So until next time, I'm Derek Gilbert.
I'm Sharon Gilbert. We love you guys so much. Thanks for your prayers. Bye-bye, everybody.
lies and conspiracy.